Hello friends, Reckless here. Today we're going to be going over the patch 3.1 notes. I think this is the biggest patch ever in Runeterra. So let's get into it. First gameplay change. Scout has been removed as a generatable keyword. So this mostly Rex Pantheon. I guess Victor, yeah, that's pretty big. Arsenal. Acceleration Gate is kind of whatever, but these three are big ones. It's important to have to mix the keywords, the variations, blah blah blah. Scout often outperforms. Yep, for sure. Frustrating gameplay experience as well. You know, if you're high rolling Scout with Pantheon, it's all frustrating for you. So we'd like to smooth up, blah 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 blah. Yeah, that's probably fine, honestly. It's a big nerf to Pantheon. Like Victor, obviously it's a nerf to Victor, but Victor's pretty good, I think. So, and it's not really super core to the experience. Copied spells now count as being played. Kamavaran, Mirror Mage, Jace. Following up our playcast changes, we want to ensure that champions that copy spells are satisfying and exciting in the long term. Spells that are copied will now activate triggers targeting quests such as Ezreal and Tarek. They'll count towards making Lux Beams and will now activate Augment. Cool. The only thing I'm wondering is if the Tarek bug from rally copying is fixed, because yeah, that kind of nerfed Tarek's play rate, and I actually kind of liked playing it as a one-of in Pantheon. All right, next up. Oh yeah, and by the way, since there's so many card changes, we might be kind of quick. Now at Ash, now counts power reduction on units that already have 0 power. This is part bug fix, part gameplay clarity, and functionality update. Well, if it's a functionality update, it's not really a bug, right? It's more of an oversight. Bugs are the code doesn't work how it should, I think. I don't know. Now I should be somewhat less sad about being unable to level off formidable units. Also, in theory, you could now minus the power of a unit multiple times once you get it to 0 to keep proccing Ash. Bard now counts units that buff their own stats. We want to open up additional deck building possibilities for Bard and address confusion around what counts for his level up quest. Okay, this is nice and all, but I'm kind of sick of Bard already. I wanted him to get a nerf in this patch. I don't know how you nerf him, and they weren't gonna nerf him anyways. I wasn't drinking copium or anything, but like I don't know, this card's so stupid. It's so frustrating when they high roll and just get 2 chimes on turn 2, right? Or just get multiple chimes on the cards that clone themselves on the relevant turns. Alright. Ezreal's level up condition is increased to 8 targets, and they are not offering any explanation. I don't know if this is just they just didn't want to talk about it, or someone forgot to put it in. I don't really like this. I understand Ezreal got a power boost because of now he procs when he's level 2, all the triggers just go on the stack, but let's be real, a lot of the times you're losing that game anyways. You being able to react to the triggers is just people wanting to feel like they have agency in a game they've already lost. I don't know, this seems a little excessive. Also, 8's really bad. Maybe we could have weaseled it up to 6 and go from there. Now here we have a great change. Ephemeral allies have 3-0 when attacking. Is that how it worked, or was it just whatever? Anyways, now it's when he levels up, grants ephemeral allies ever 3-0. We want the payoff for ephemeral decks to be more consistent by guaranteeing Hecarim's buffs on leveling up, even if he dies in combat. Nope, this is great. Him dying in combat was definitely a way to actually mitigate the big cool turn when they send 30 power of ephemerals at you. So even if homecoming Hecarim, or he had damage on him and you use damage to remove him, you're still going to be taking a lot of ephemeral damage. So this is really cool. And I don't know, I think this will be interesting and maybe worth exploring. Maybe we'll get some Sand Soldier slash Hecarim deck. Who knows? Alright, Aurelia got a big buff. She has a tune now. So she generates 1 spell mana when you play her. Over the course of several archetype nerfs, Aurelia has become much less satisfying. Yeah. We want to strike a cleaner balance between her power level and her gameplay satisfaction. Yeah, so the big nerf to her was making Flawless Duet cost 2 mana instead of 1. So usually you want to play a couple Flawless Duets over the course of a game. So even though this went from 1 to 2, and now Irelia is getting 1 mana when you play her, she's still like weaker than she was pre-nerf. I think this is fine. I don't really want to play against Irelia Azir. If we want to talk about like frustrating gameplay, this is one of those cards, but you know, give it a chance, I guess. Callista's been changed to a 3/4 instead of a 4/3, swapping states? Stats? It's not supposed to be an E there. Here gives Callista some more innate tankiness and will increase her ability to engage in combat and level up for sure, right? Like, also 4/3s which are just like slightly easier to deal with than 3/4s. She can block now. I think this is great. I don't know if I'm supposed to play her with Hecarim. Like, I understand they have inherent synergy, but like, eh. Alright, so Shen got a buff. He now has Barrier on play, and they've changed the level requirement to, I've seen allies gain Barrier 5 times to accommodate, because he will see himself have Barrier. I'm super sure he will. Since play rate is among the lowest in lore, we want to give him back some immediate, give him a bit more immediate ability to block or attack, to give him some more combat control without potential to level him up and realize the Shen dream. I wonder if they should just actually change the scene to like allies have been given barrier and obviously increase the number. I don't know. Like the problem is they've been nerfing the Shen Dream, which is you give a challenger barrier. I don't know what they think the Shen Dream is, but for people actually trying to win and get LP, that's the Shen Dream. Like you're not just giving barrier to your units for barrier's sake. Alright. Moving on to Aftershock. Now it costs 3 mana instead of 4. And instead of doing 3 damage to anything, it deals 3 damage to a unit. We'd love for more landmark removal to be more viable, and identified Aftershock as a card that could help provide more widespread interactive counterplay against landmarks. As a person who likes to point burn spells at the face, I'm actually kind of sad about this change, though I haven't played a Piltover Noxus deck in maybe a year. Obviously I think overall this is a buff though. Like 3 mana for 3 unit damage is actually a really good rate. So, and having that extra landmark interaction there is good. Yeah. I'm just gonna go on a mini rant about like the cost of actually spending 3 mana to blow up a landmark and how it impacts landmark based matchups like Sundisk or Thralls. Because like we saw before, Tribeam actually had a negative win rate against Sundisk, if I recall correctly. Because the problem is, even though they had Scorched Earths, right, to blow up Sundisk, spending 3 mana to do that wasn't necessarily enough to lock up the game and to be favored, right? So I just hope they're not going like, oh yeah, 3 damage or 3 mana landmark removal, that'll be good. Because like there are games against Thralls where if you just like if you spend 3 mana to blow up the landmark they make off their Frozen Harbinger, like their 2-drop, you're behind. And like constantly falling behind on mana, even if you're like crippling an inherent part of their strategy, they still have cards in their deck that do things, right? They can still just card you to death. So but we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out, you know? Because there are more changes here. Avatar of the Tides, now it's a 4/6, adding a bit of health to help to make the mana engine a little more stable. So we'll just read the card too. If you would gain a mana gem, instead refill your spell mana. When you play a spell, create in hand a random spell that costs 3 or less and give it fleeting. So I'm pretty sure if you play this on, I think if you have 10 mana, you still get the refill spell mana, and if not, then like say you just play it on 9 and you get 3 spell mana every turn. Kind of a cool like Mimi rapid spell engine Gober. You know, it kind of feels like a curious Fey folk or curious Shell folk, kind of card, but I don't know, clearly they want this to be maybe a little more viable. I'm down. I like free things. Maybe it could go well with Victor, right? And then the credit cards are now cheaper, so you can rapid fire through them more. Avasor, Avaror, Hearthguard. I'm not saying it. It's a 5/6 now. We're returning Hearthguard to his former glory to give Freljord mid-range units a boost. Or Freljord mid-game a boost. Babbling Bjerg is now a 3/4. I actually kind of like this card. I've weaseled. I think it's a really good 1/2 of in a lot of decks. Kind of like more memey decks, but you know, it's a nice way to add extra consistency to your deck. A slight buff to a staple Freljord mid-range unit to help encourage the archetype more. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Like, what is this Freljord mid-range archetype? Like, what is this mythical thing? You know, I don't think Frostbite ever played this. Like, are we talking about like Rico Rex's Overwhelm deck? Like, that's not Freljord mid-range. You know, that's I don't get this. I don't know. They're in their world, maybe. Who knows? Or maybe 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 I'm out of touch. You know, maybe the kids aren't wrong. Blighted Caretaker got its nerf reverted back from Thrashnosis days to a 2/1. I inherently I don't like this just because I didn't like that archetype. I wanted it to get nerfed and I was happy, but honestly, this is fine. Um You know, and also it does help boost like Hecarim and Callista, so, you know. Because now it's actually like a relevant unit after the fact. You know, two ones can trade. Oh wow, so they wanted that Shen Dream to happen, and yet they nerfed Bright Steel Protector. Interesting. This change is meant to soften the strength of domestic curving out with Bright Steel, and encouraging the utility of her barrier. You know, I don't know. I want to say like Demacia shouldn't get many nerfs, but the problem is Bard's like kind of breaking that region. And if you think about this as like some like oncologist, right? It's actually kind of like makes a lot of sense, right? Like barrier is usually worth a card depending on how your deck's constructed, which like oncologist gives you a card, and like barrier is like plus tempo. So if you think about this as like a value unit, it actually kind of lines up. Um, I don't know. I'm not super enthused about it, but whatever. Kamavaran Dragon is now a 4/4 for 4. We're adding more on-curve health to make the dragon more cost-effective. Sure. I guess, right? Like, play strike unit, do 3, has fury. Let's say unit drain 1 from the enemy nexus. Like, I don't know. I think this will probably end up like the 4/4, the simp workers, simp treasure. I forget which one's which. But it's like, yeah, we buffed it. We made the stats better. Does it see any play? Not really. Because it just doesn't go in any dominant strats. It just doesn't really have a home, but, you know, maybe one day. I don't think Shadow Isle Dragons is going to happen. I think this is probably meant for, like, other types of strategies. Chief Nako Tak goes from a 3/3 to a 2/4. And when an ally transforms, fully heal it and granted 1/1 is being upgraded to and granted impact. So transform based Mandel City decks have historically not seen much play, correct? So we're buffing Chief Nako Tak as a core synergistic card for new deck playing possibilities. Yeah, I guess it just gets to sit around. It's harder to remove, especially with the aftershock buff, right? And giving impact, right? That's good. That's a card. Um, I don't know if we're gonna see Vandal City transform, but like, yeah, sure. Crumble going from 5 to 4, given its high ability to disrupt and potential access through Hellstones. It's just whatever. We've identified Crumble as a card that could use a cost decrease to see a bit more play. So I was listening to Jasoth and Aikado talk about the possibility this could get reduced, and I think Jasoth said something to the effect of like, there's no way they reduce this card. It's already like really good. Like they were thinking like maybe there'd be like a modular thing, like the landmark could be fast and the killer unit could be slow and stay at 5 mana, something like that. I was loosely listening. This is a great upgrade, and again, like Nami Shadow Isles is a deck right now, so you can use the Shadow Isle Tellstone. Yeah, like you don't actually have to play this card in your deck. And also with ephemeral stuff being buffed, right? Maybe you actually do play it in your deck, and you could have access to like up to 6 copies if you really wanted to. Might be a little excessive. This is a pretty ambitious change, but I don't know. It might be good. Like I think the Vengeance upgrade to or buff down to 6 mana has played out reasonably well. So, you know, screwing around with making removal a little more cost efficient, especially as like the game gets like power crept a little more. Oh, thank fucking god. Alright, disintegrate. Damage mitigation now prevents units from dying from disintegrate's effects. We want to add more healthy counterplay to Disintegrate, increase the clarity of its attacks and effects, and fix several buggy edge cases, such as Disintegrate versus Barrier, Lifesteal Tough. How is this an edge case? These are just these are mechanics in your game. Like that, it's not an edge case that, oh, they used Barrier on a unit that was gonna get Mystic Shot. What an edge case. Like, whatever. I'm happy with the fix overall. I don't agree with like them classifying these as bugs. It's oversights or design mistakes or design oversights. It's, I don't know. Anyways, yes. So now barriers, spell shields, tough should stop disintegrate. Also that like stupid 6/4 elephant and Noxus um that units with 4 power or less can't damage it, right? Like that can do something. That card's not really good, but it was just funny that even that died. Unyielding Spirit can't get wrecked anymore either, hopefully. Yeah, kill it. Was this changed? I feel like this used to be Obliterate. Oh no. Alright, we're gonna move on. This is great. I'm happy. I hope they next time it takes 1 more damage, just want to kill it. I hope they update the text a little just to make it more intuitive, but whatever. Alright, so Ember Monk, a card I didn't really know existed. 3 to 4, so it's going down to 3 mana instead of 4, and from being a 3/3, it's a 2/3, so, you know, pretty big. Because normally when you go down a mana, you go down 1/1. But it only lost the power, and this has quick attack, and when you summon another ally, give me 1/0. Okay. Ember Monk was too inefficient to function within its archetype, so we're lowering its cost. What is this card's archetype? I really, is this like another Freljord mid-range archetype that it's just this mythical archetype that, you know, it's like it exists in a designer's pipe dream, but it doesn't actually exist on the ladder, like, or there are 7 people that know about this magic archetype. I don't know. Like, I don't think this is very good. Maybe if you could find ways to give it overwhelm or elusive in other regions, like you could vomit a lot of stuff. But I don't know, like quick attacking units, like high powered units without some type of evasion, just really aren't where you want to be a lot of the time because a lot of regions have low opportunity cost chump blockers. So it's like you go through all this trouble and you're like, aha, I played 3 units in a turn and now my Ember Monk has 5 power, attack you, and they're just like chump. And you're like, oh, fuck. I'll get you in 2 more turns. I'll attack you, and you won't have played blockers in that time. No, siree Bob. You know, like I don't know. Pharaoh's Financier, debuff down to a 2/1. Was giving too much value with a decent stat line for his versatility. You know, fair enough. If Conchi's gonna get a nerf, this can get a nerf, and like Bright Steel Protector, you know, if we think about Barrier as a card's value or a card like when we look at tempo as well, it kind of lines up, right? If you squint your eyes a bit. Gleaming Lanterns now down to a 3/2 from a 3/3. We're increasing the ability to disrupt explosive Gleaming Lantern starts, but leaving the outright power the lantern provides for Fey decks. Okay, so I think people really overrate how important the Mystic Shot diseases where it's like, oh, you died a Mystic Shot now you are unplayable because of that. That's not really it. It's actually never really been it, because not every region has Mystic Shot, and not everyone always has Mystic Shot. So like if you're having 2 hour, it wasn't like, oh, she's bad now because Mystic Shot kills her. She's bad now because she can't survive the majority of her fights without assistance, right? So it became hard to level her up. And Draven going down to 3-2, the reason he dropped in play a lot wasn't because, oh no, Mystic Shot plays it. The Mystic Shot can kill him. It was he can't block anymore. And without dying, right? Like his survivability at blocking went down a lot, so like your percentage against like random aggro decks went down a lot. Obviously, like Mystic Shot does see some play, and it is good, but like the card is getting power crept more and more, and it's just not the most popular card in the world like it used to be. This is still great, right? Like this card shouldn't be like attacking with a 3/3 in a swarm deck was like kind of silly. So I still think this is fine. I just, you know, I just don't like the kind of copium way they posted of like disrupt, you can disrupt it now. It's like, well, Ionia doesn't have Mystic Shot, okay? So until we start giving every region do 2 damage to 2 units for 2 mana, or do 2 damage to a unit for 2 mana, like I really want to stop seeing this fucking like hyperbole. Hothead. Base stat. 4/2. Now it's a 3/3. Hack. Grant the top champion in your deck 1/1 and a random keyword. Okay. Hothead could use a bit of a stat adjustment to have higher potential to make 1 or more attacks. Yeah, sure, right? Especially, yeah, those Mystic Shots, they're coming for it. They're coming for it. This is fine. Honestly, I wonder if this should have just been like a 2/4 or a 2/5, even give it like more raw stats. I don't know what archetype this is played in. Um, yeah, honestly, I have no idea. I didn't know this card existed. It's like kind of cool, but it's not a fan. Not a fan. I can't really think of like why I'd want to play this. Oh, great. Firing Marshall is back to a 5/6. Marshall has had a hard time since its previous nerfs. We'll keep it as a top end for token decks and increase the stats to make it a bit more viable in Shuriman token decks. I don't know. I don't know why they want to bring back Aziralia. Like this archetype was okay. Like let's be real. If a thing is too good for too long, people just won't like it. More or less, period, right? There are very few decks that are like tier 1, see a ton of play, like, 8% or whatever, which isn't really that big of a number, but it's enough to rile people up. And for people to be like, this is boring, I don't want to play against anymore, I don't like it, kill it, right? Nerf it into the ground, please. But like, I feel like Aziralia is a special case of this is unfundamentable to play against, because the way it works is it throws all these tokens at you, and blocking them just prevents damage. You're not doing like, and you're not making any progress when you block them, And like Runeterra is, a unit combat interaction game, and it's just like, oh no, all these free things, I'm getting buried. And it's like in StarCraft 2 where when Swarm Hosts were OP multiple times, or Broodlords were OP multiple times, and all these free units, it's just miserable to play against because you're not doing anything as you fight them. You're just losing, and they kill your stuff. So I don't know. I don't like this. Um, I don't like both the stats. Like at least, yeah, I don't know. I would have been fine leaving this nerfed, or even just giving it a toughness. But yeah, I don't know. 5/6. It's a little too much. IMHO. Justice Rider. Flash Bomb traps. Oh, it's a 3/5 now. Flash Bomb trap followers rarely show up in decks. I'm surprised they didn't say in the archetype, because that actually is kind of an archetype. Caitlyn Simps. And haven't been too effective, so we're giving Justice Rider more durability to plant more bombs. Sure. I'm down. I'm down. Kahiri the Returned. Now it's a 5-drop instead of a 6-drop, and it's a 3/3. We're reducing Kahiri's cost to make him a more satisfying build around me card. Sure. I don't know. This like a predict deck exists already, right? It's Echo Zillion, and I don't think this card has ever seen play in it, and I don't see how that's going to change. So, good luck. Have fun. I wish you the best. I don't expect it though. The Lady of Blood goes from a 2/4 to a 3/4, providing Lady a bit more combat viability to give slower Noxus discard decks a bit of a better curve. Okay, yeah, maybe something will happen here. I just I don't know. It's like I sometimes feel I underestimate how important number stats are, but it's like this isn't seeing play not because, it was two, she couldn't block off fearsomes or something like that. It's just that entire archetype's weak, But I guess maybe they're doing the slow drip feed where it's like, we want the slow Noxus discard decks to be good one day, so we'll just slowly increase it, and maybe, over multiple patches we'll get there. Um, it's like, sure, that's a nice, safe, cautious way to do it. Lava Lizard deserves to spit a bit more fire. It now has impact. Okay. I think this is a transform card. So it's part of that transform archetype. It's fucking coming for us. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Legion Deserter. We want now has Fearsome instead of Overwhelm. We want to keep the gameplay dream of scaling huge Legion Deserters, but swap out Overwhelm to Fearsome to reduce the ability to outright end your opponent's career prematurely. The meme. This is good. I like this. I like this nerf. Fearsome, like, not everyone actually has infinite Fearsome blockers either. Because if we, like the Ember Monk scenario, your shitty 2/1s that already gained you a card of value, right, can be tossed away, whereas those can't block Fearsome. So normally you have to actually block with a realer unit that you actually paid more money for. So yeah, I think this is a fine nerf. I don't know if this archetype will play Might moving forward, because Might's a cool way to push extra damage through, or if they'll just stay on 2 atrocities and just keep it as is. Obviously, this is a very big nerf though, but I still think the card has viability, which is cool, right? Like, that's theoretically like the best kind of nerf, is like it's not broken or it's not oppressive, but we can still have it see play. Whereas a lot of the time I feel in Runeterra, we see cards nerfed and they just kind of disappear forever. Alright, this one I didn't understand. So they shuffled the stats around to a 2/4. Okay, right. Sure, I guess. It has regeneration. It'll stay, it's easier, it's harder to kill, it stays alive easier. But now they shuffled the stats around, so instead of being a 5/6 when it leveled, it's a 4/6. Maybe this was a 5/5. Actually, let's look it up. Okay, so it used to be a 5/5. Yeah, they just fucked up the text, because I was so confused. Like, why is it worse now when it levels? But yeah, the shuffle is in effect. Freljord mid-range units and transform should be a bit more viable to enable some of those. They didn't use the archetype word. No shot. Yeah, oh no. Oh, also the transform strategy too. So now Freljord mid-range and the transform archetype is so good. I'm memeing, but it might work. Oh, my boy, Petricite Broadwing. So they removed Challenger, and now it has, when you summon an ally, grant me Challenger. We're opting for a small nerf. It's a kind of big nerf that will ease some of the early round tension of playing against it, while also giving more window for potential counterplay. So this is like a Fleet Feather Tracker. It's essentially what it's being demoted to. Um, this is a big nerf. I still think the card will be playable. Um, if they remove Challenger from it altogether, obviously this card would just be like garbage and throw it out. But this is very significant, especially say you're playing like Pantheon, right? And you put in 3 Petrified Broadwings to make your aggro matchup better. Admittedly, this is like a bit of a like Fever Dream theory crafting nightmare because aggro doesn't really exist anymore. Everything's just like mega mid range. You can't go like turn 2 token, like play this, snipe off a unit, and then still have the blocker for turn 3 on even attack token turns. So that's gonna reduce its power in that kind of matchup significantly. But in all the other matchups, like just like mid-range versus mid-range, it'll probably more or less function the same. Maybe be slightly less terrorizing. So this had to happen. Like 3/3 challengers for 2 were stupid. Promising future. The exact opposite of this card. We're greatly slowing down. 4 to 6 mana. We're greatly slowing down the ability to double down on landmarks risk-free and introduce more obvious windows for counterplay. We're greatly slowing down the ability to double down on landmarks risk-free. It was never risk-free though. I don't know, whatever. Anyways, it's 6 mana now. And introduce, yeah, well, they've been buffing a lot of landmark removal cards. Yeah, I don't know. This is big. I wonder if Thralls will even play this card anymore. 6 mana. Like 6 mana to make an 8/8 is still like good, I think. Not even sure. Like if someone just gave me a spell, spend 6 mana for an 8/8, I'd play it, but like, I'm going through hoops to do it. I have a delay. I wonder if Thralls just won't play this card anymore now, and they'll just play the 5-drop that if round end, if your Thralls have 4, or if your frozen thingies have 4 or less, they go to 0. Yeah. I don't mind seeing this. I hate the Thralls deck. I think it's pretty lame, so adios. Alright, Quicksand. When targeting 2 units, give them -2, blah blah blah. So they're changing it to when targeting 2 units, give them -1, disable their positive keywords this round. We're happy with the increased interaction. Previous Quicksand changes have provided Shroomo, but pushing a small follow-up to make it less of a combat blowout and reduce the overall safety provides some more greedy decks. Alright, so just a soft spoiler, they're gonna talk about buffing Ionian elusives later on in this patch. And this, in my opinion, should not, if you pick the 2 mode, there should be no debuff. Just take away the keywords. Because the problem is, when you do this on elusive units, like, because let's be real, a lot of elusive strategies are swarmy, -2 just made the unit, most of the units have essentially 0 power. So they just got killed for free. Even at -1, this is still pretty bad. Like, Navori, the 2/1 elusive unit, Navori something, Young Witch, even like Shadow Assassins, right? Shadow Assassins, like, they're gonna be a 1/1. I guess they trade evenly with the 2/1 value units, but they're still gonna crash into that freaking 1/4 out of Shurima that gives landmarks, spell shield. I don't know. In my opinion, if you're massively crippling 2 units, I just don't think there should be a power debuff, right? Like removing Overwhelm or Elusive from 2 units is already crippling enough to your opponent's strategy. You don't have to spin in their mouth while you're at it. But hey, -1, less egregious than -2, so I'll take it and still not play those decks. Stellacorn 4/5 to a 5/6. This change should provide more on-curve power to Targon healing decks. So are they talking about Soraka? I don't know. I kind of liked this card before, and I think I like this card now. This is a lot of healing. This is actually a lot of numbers, right? 5/6 for 5, pretty thick, pretty big. Heal an ally 3 and heal your nexus 3. That's 6 points of healing. Like there's kind of a lot going on here. I don't know what the home for this looks like. Because again, the problem is with a lot of this stuff is like this card could be great, right? But if the homes, like if its archetypes or decks it could be played in aren't that great, then, you know, it's not going to see play. It's not its fault. So, I don't know, something to think about. Riptide Rex goes from a 6/4 to a 7/5. I think this is just reverting the old nerf. And 6 cannon barrages up to 7 cannon barrages. I really wish they would just bold the keywords that are changing instead of like on top of like copy pasting. Bilgewater control decks have slowly moved out of the metagame with time and nerfs to key cards. I feel like this statement is like a year late, but sure, yeah. Returning Riptide Rex to his former glory should have more slower and mid-range Bilgewater decks be more viable top-end cards. Also, this works with Jin. Think about it. Think about it. Jin, 7 triggers. Um, I don't know. Like, uh, are we still like, look at Riptide Rex, right? You're like, oh wow, a 7/5, and it does all the cannon stuff. And then we look at, you know, this freaking 14/13 unit for 5. And we look at the stupid Hydrovine, invasive Hydrovine. And then we look back at Riptide Rex and it's like, what are you doing? Like, you're just like the stats are getting dumb, right? Or like Viego bullshit, right? Like it's like, yeah, you're doing a lot, but also there are these things that are just way better than you, and as long as they're good, right, you're gonna just have a lot of feel bads. I don't know. Little I'm not super optimistic, but I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a little more uptake, a little more viability. Sands of Time, the Instant Sentry is now fleeting. Instant Sentry being a 0 card cost that can be held in hand for an ideal combo timing, gave thralls a bit too much agency over when to advance their landmarks. We think this adjustment aligns the functionality a bit closer to our design standards. Yep, for cards that are created in hand. I agree. Yeah, so Sands of Time, right, gives enemies -2 this round. So this being very strong combined with thralls having sweepers either in Blighted Ravine, they don't play as much avalanches as they used to, but obviously they still can. Kind of put you in this very awful clinch where it's like, if I develop, I could get swept. And if I open attack, they have now like a very clean interaction against that, which is Sands of Time. So at the very least, like, if you're gonna have this like Lorwyn fair blue black fairies level of like damned if you do, damned if you don't with Cryptic Command and the stupid tap all your lands fairy, like make the payoff not super god tier and just like medium. It's still good. Squeaker 1/1 to a 1/2. Discard to manifest a Mecha Yordle. Want to make it more cost efficient? Sure. Sure. I wonder if this should actually just be a 1/3 like the dragon card. Though it does have augment, which, you know, this thing can grow. Yeah, 1/3 would probably be a little aggressive, but I don't know. It would be like ballistic bot power level. And like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Mandel City could use a new good card. Because we nerfed a lot of them. We nerfed a lot of them. Ah, the Arsenal. Going from an 8/6 to a 9/7. Scouts removal is a generatable keyword. Hurts the Arsenal quite a bit. So we're making the Arsenal a bit beefier to retain his name as the Arsenal. Thankfully, we now know why they will call him the Arsenal moving forward. The Arsenal. The Prefect. It's a 2/3 instead of a 1/3. Is too undertuned to see play in dedicated skill decks, so we're boosting her overall strength. I don't think this is gonna see play in Jin or Janny decks. Even after this buff. So try again. I guess it's a good Path of Champions update. You know, it's good. It's good. Love to see it. This was a little shocking to me. They're just making Trofarian Assessor cost 4. They aren't reducing her stats, which isn't normally how they do this. Reputation-based Noxus decks Could use a revert on the assessor's cost to improve viability. Did this used to be a 4/3 for 4? Maybe like way back in the day. Anyways, sure, this is fine, right? Like Frostbite decks also played this card, Sivir LeBlanc. Yeah, that's her name. Could also play this card. It's cool. Also, I actually don't mind Noxus having card draw. But I like how it's more quest based, you know, it's not just like you played a 2-drop, now you get something for free. You know, you have to work for it. Vanguard First Blade, up to a 3/3 from a 2/2. What's a patch without a random elite buff question mark? Not bad. First Blade curve out should be a bit more satisfying for Demacia decks. I don't think we're gonna see this played in Demacia Bard because I think their 4-drop slot's already very glutted with the silver wing thingy, the challenger that makes like you pick 3 challengers and it buffs your challengers, and then the 2/1 for 4 that makes a copy of itself. Yeah, maybe one day. In theory, a 4-mana 5/5 attacker, right? That's pretty good, and it could scale bigger. Like it being at a 4/4 was like very low. Um, I don't see this seeing much play though. And when I say seeing play, I mean like ranked play. You know, platinum or above, not user 420 blaze it. It's like, oh, I've played 700 games with Vanguard First Blade. This is amazing. In normal, you know. Windfarer Hatchling. I fucking love this card. It's going from a 4/3 from a 4/2 to a 4/3. With the release of World Waker, Ionia has been underrepresented overall. Ionia. We're providing elusive decks some more power to finish out games. Alright, if every opponent in the game has Mystic Shot in their deck or in their hand at all points, this buff is obviously very good, because your 4/2 won't die to a Mystic Shot. I have actually played a lot of Windfarer Hatchling decks. I even played it in frickin' Ari Kennen. Okay? Um, this doesn't really fucking do anything. Like, you don't play Windfarer Hatchling and it's like, oh, I'm exactly getting them. You play Windfarer Hatchling and it's like, they're dead. They're dead. I have 18 power of elusive damage. Like, you are getting dunzoed. And it's like, I don't know. If they really wanted to boost Ionian elusives, they would have made this cost 6 mana and tweaked its stats. They didn't. So, you know, what, like, why does Targon get a 6 mana overwhelm unit? And we all know the winning light is 6 mana. It's not 7 mana, it's 6. Yeah, I think they should have just made this 6 and tweaked its stats. I don't think this change will do anything, especially with like Quicksand. You know, I'm gonna adopt the, if everyone has Mystic Shot like freaking Delusion, I'll adopt the everyone has Quicksand mindset, and it's not gonna change anything, right? Like I'm still gonna lose 8 power of elusives just from, you know, a 3 mana spell. Though at least they'll trade in this scenario a bit better. Yeah, that's my take. Girdle Contraption, 4 mana from 5. This card hasn't seen much play, so we're improving the efficiency of this old contraption. Is this card old? Like maybe in flavor. I thought this card's pretty new. Alright, so it's 4 mana slow. Destroy a landmark. Alright, back to my old rant about, like, you know, how even having landmark removal doesn't make Sundisk a good matchup. But add 33% to the card in question, right? Or create 2 random multi-region followers in hand. I don't see this card seeing play. I'd be pretty surprised. Maybe there's like some niche Bandle City deck that, like, you know, plays Mare. Like 4 mana to create 2 multi-region followers isn't really good. Um Especially like with no restriction on their costs, right? Like you can just end up with really garbage underpowered ones, or like really cheap ones, you know, and this is like a later game spell, so in theory, like this would be a lot better if, say, it was restricted to like 4 or better, because even some of the 3 drops really suck. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. Oh no, not Zenith Blade. Change grant Overwhelm. To give Overwhelm this turn. Zenith Blade should be a solid go-to repeatable buff for decks. Okay. But its power output should be a bit more narrow considering the low amount of card resources required to grant up to 3 units Overwhelm. Especially considering the additional synergies and stats repeated Zenith Blade provides. You know, this is fair. As a Pantheon enthusiast, this someone who played a little bit of Lee Sin Zoe, I think this is legit. I don't know if it kills the card. I think it does. I think now you're going through way too many hoops to like properly abuse this. Like I'm sure like we'll still see a random Lee Sin Zoe deck in like a best of 3 lineup, in a couple weeks. But that'll be more just because like it preys on random decks really well. But like I don't know. This is pretty bad news for Pantheon. Like between losing Scout on Pantheon, Petricite Broadwings hurting the anti-aggro versions for ladder, and then this, right? It's gonna be harder to do open attacks for big amounts, right? Like open attacking probably won't ever happen anymore, which like is important for the deck, and it's how you won a lot of games. Like, yeah, so I don't know. But it's also legit, and it's like I feel this effect like didn't have like it shouldn't live necessarily, right? Like some effects can just like bugger off, and yeah, I don't know. We'll see though. It also still procs faded, so that's something. Still works in those the Leona archetype, the Daybreak archetype. So maybe this isn't the last time we see Zenith Blade. Alright, Path of Champion updates. Actually, this is pretty big. We're smoothing out shard acquisition in the Path of Champions by introducing Wild Fragments. Wild Fragments can be used in place of Champion Fragments to unlock or start up any champion in Path of Champions. When you earn Champion Fragments for a champion that exceeds the amount to get the champion at 3 sizes, you'll then still earn an amount of Wild Fragments. I really think they should have swapped this point with this point, because it's like, first I'd like to know how I get them, and then I'd like to know what they are. Because if you just say this, it's like, well, how do I get them? Just minor though. Players who have already earned excess champion fragments will retroactively receive wild fragments. So good news for all the people that got multiple extra shards for champions that already have it 3. When you earn duplicate relics that are clearly not useful, fourth copy of any relic, second copy of any keyword granting relic, you'll get wild fragments instead. This also applies retroactively, thank God. Additionally, players can receive wild fragments from some weekly and daily quests. Cool. Finally, we're opening up the option to spend coins to unlock champions instead of champion fragments or wild fragments. I like to see this, I actually don't hate like having microtransactions or like people have the ability to pay for things in games, right? It's just it has to be balanced against people's ability to earn things. So, like not everyone has time to grind stuff. They want to spend money. Let them spend money. Like games exist in capitalism, so yeah. Personalization. All right, we got some champion skins. I'm not going over this. We got a Bard one. We had an Ami one. We have a Fizz one. We have a Lee Sin one. We have a Zillion one. We have a Draven one. Or the Darius. We have a board. We have an emote. Okay, this is hilarious. This is this is fantastic. Poor bards. They're just doing their best. Miscellaneous. Added a skip button to the weekly vault. Thank God. This is great. This is amazing. Bug fixes. Fixed some issues causing players to crash when starting a match or reconnecting. Wrecked. Fix a crash where Kahiri the Return is summoned from Chrono Break. Man, they really like this Kahiri card. Just really trying to make it work. Fixed an audio related crash. Wow. Fix an issue causing the game stop loading when entering a match in the Path of Champions. Flesh's Valor VX will now only play when he's challenging an enemy. Cool. Saber's Pyroclastic rival now deal damage as intended. Alright. Seems like a pretty big bug. Fix some issues preventing Bard from properly receiving level. Yeah, when increasing the stats of allies. I've seen this in Path, and I think yeah, this is good. Like, things should work as they read, you know. Like Disintegrate, should have worked on launch, how it read, and how a sane, sober person would interpret it to work. Because, preventing things means they don't happen. Like Barrier. Fix an issue preventing Jin's dancing grenade from bouncing. I don't quite understand this, but I'm gonna nod. Fix an issue for preventing the emote panel from happening. No, that's just a feature, right? That's just, maybe some people, if they're clicking this enough, maybe they shouldn't have emotes. I don't know. Fix an error when players attempt to draw claws of the dragon. Okay. I wish I knew more about this. It's like, this should not be in your deck. Please remove this. Or it's like, we'll give you a better card. Rip claws. I used to play that card. Fix some visual issues causing cards in the Nexus to be displaced. Yeah, we've seen this, especially with like in observer mode. There have been like cards just like randomly floating at points in the battlefield after they've been removed. Fix several VFX issues that were causing incorrect playback. Yeah, sure. And then we have all of the duds, Calms and Robin Zoo. All right, so those are the notes. A lot happening. A lot of minor stuff. I had one suggestion that Ruben Zoo did not like, and no one liked it. It was, I think, what's the card's name? Crimson Curator, I think, should get a toughness buff. I think this should be a 3-4, not a 3-3. Because I think this is cool, like good. The Scargown's archetype needs this. Boys and girls, it needs the buff. Yeah, and like the Crimson cards kind of suck anyways, so it's not like you're getting mega good cards. I think this would be really cool as a 3-4. Because even if it's like, oh no, Noxus is getting card advantage. Like, hey, Noxus is allowed to have card advantage. It's just not like really great. And like the range of things they're getting aren't good. They're good in one deck. It's called Scarground. So yeah. Overall though, I like the direction, I'd like to see more. But yeah, no, this is great. I hope the game keeps going in this direction though. Yeah, I'd like more garbage units that don't see play anymore. Like, see if they can get tweaked around, maybe increase their playability. Because the thing is, like, we have seen cards go from 0 play to actual play. Like Braum, back when they gave him 1 power, that was pretty massive. But also there were a few Scarground buffs that made that deck playable, and I'm hoping that a few more tweaks the Scarground's archetype can rise again. Because I don't know, it was just like a really fun mid-range board interactive high synergy deck. Like, what's not to like about that pile of words I just said? Thank God for this. I just hope like Viego and Invasive Hydravine gets a bit of a nerf. That's probably like what I want next to come. Because I think Viego's actually been kind of griefing the metagame for like the last 9 months. But no one, it's like when Darkness was like really crazy, right? Like, it was just tier 1 the whole time, and no one said anything. No one complained about it. And I think it's because, like, control, like, I think people have, like, a massive bias towards control decks. Like, people love control decks. It's super cringe. Um, and then they nerfed Darkness, and then they made a 14/13 unit for 5 mana. So it's like, Darkness looks at that, and it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do against that unit with my cards? But yeah, I think the Viego package has just been a little too good, a little too long. And yeah, I think I don't want to see it nerfed because some people really like the shirtless guy, so we gotta keep the thirsty shirtless guy people happy, right? So just, calm him down a little. Increase his level up requirement. Don't make it the easiest thing in the world. Yeah, so that's it. If you don't know. If you hate any of my takes, let me know in the comments, or if there's something you want Riot to look at next, let me know. I will see you all next time.